Okay, happy Sunday, everybody. Hopefully the weather, it sounds like it's going to start turning tomorrow into a nicer day anyways for a short time. So today I'm here, I just want to talk about sugar, just kind of tell you about what sugar is, how our body digests sugar, and the benefits of, natural sugars versus the added sugars or table sugars. So most of us think of sugar as the white stuff we put in our coffee, or maybe what makes up 90% of those colored marshmallow cereals. However, sugar is actually a group of molecules that share a similar structure. So we might actually call them sugars, using the plural term. The sugar groups include a lot of members such as glucose, fructose, sucrose, which is table sugar, maltose, galactose, and lactose. Sugars naturally occur in biology and in most foods, even if only in trace amounts. There is, of course, much more sugar in processed and refined foods than in less processed and unrefined foods. Sugar lives under the larger umbrella of carbohydrates. Along with the sweet stuff, this macronutrient group also includes the carbs like we've talked about, starches like in potatoes or rice, fiber like in the husks of whole grains, structural building blocks like chitin, sorry, I don't know how to pronounce that, which makes up the shells of crustaceans or shrimp, or cellulose, which makes up things like the trunks of trees, plant cells, basically. The more complex the molecule, the slower it digests. Sugars, which are simpler, digest more quickly. Starches and fiber, which are bigger, more complicated molecules, digest more slowly, if at all. This is why eating more fiber, which I know I've mentioned before, can help us feel fuller longer. Most carbs are actually broken down into simple sugars once they're digested. Other carbs, such as insoluble fiber, don't really get broken down nor absorbed fully, although our intestinal bacteria like to munch on them. So, sugars are a type of carb, but not all carbs are sugar. And some carbohydrates break down quickly and easily into sugars, where others don't. This point is important to understand because it tells us that not all carbs do exactly the same things in our body. So sugar tastes good to us, we know this, because in nature, sweet foods like fruits are often full of good stuff like vitamins, minerals, and energy. But we all differ in our physiology and behavior. In all things, humans are diverse and variable. Some of us like and seek out sugar more than others. This may be genetic, or we may have learned it as we grew up, or both. For example, some of us like sugar in small doses. We can only eat a little before pushing the dessert plate away, while others like it a lot. The more we eat, the more we want. The idea of too much sugar just doesn't compute. Likewise, some of our bodies seem better suited than others. For example, some of us can eat sugar all day long and feel fine, while others can only tolerate a little bit before our pancreas, which secretes insulin, a hormone that helps sugar get into the cells, tell us to knock it off. In general, most of us like at least some sweetness. When we're young, we tend to like sweetness more and avoid bitter foods. Yet each person's response to sugar and sweetness is unique. Sweet foods are often processed and highly palatable. This is especially true because most high sugar foods are refined, tasty, and hard to stop eating. We digest and absorb the energy they contain quickly and easily. They overstimulate the reward pleasure centers in our brain, and we tend to overeat them. Plus, hidden sugars in processed foods can add up fast without us even realizing it. These foods and our brain's response to them not the sugar by itself, can often lead to overconsumption. So the sugar itself may be less of a culprit than the fact that many of us just can't quit at just one gummy bear or sip of soda. I don't know if you've ever heard Amy or myself, I've mentioned pop, and you have a sip of pop and you tend to just want more. So if you're having a pop first thing in the morning, that pleasure response in your brain lasts all day long, and it's constantly looking for that sweet taste for some of us, not all of us, okay? And so that's where some people have that sugar craving, that they just want sugar all day because their body, their brain is saying, oh, you gave me that sweetness, now I want more, I want more. And we just can't seem to satisfy it. Simple carbs contain smaller, more easily pronounced molecules known as mono and disaccharides. They contain either one sugar molecule or two linked together. Complex carbs or smart carbs are polysaccharides, since they have more than two sugar groups linked together. So, added sugars hit your bloodstream faster, spiking your insulin levels. Natural sugars, like you find in fruits and vegetables, never exist in such a high concentration as added sugars, and they're always accompanied by healthy components like fiber, which slow the absorption of natural sugar into the blood. So I mentioned these in the beginning, but despite some of the crazy names we read on labels, of packaged foods, there really are only 6 types of natural sugars that are in the world. We have glucose, fructose, galactose, lactose, maltose, and sucrose. Glucose is the most common form of sugar found in nature, and I'm sure most of us have heard of that. It's a simple and natural process resulting in the presence of sugar in plant-based foods as healthy as spinach, broccoli, corn, kale, wheat, oats, beans, and so many more. Another fact is that no matter what sugar we eat, perhaps a fructose or sucrose, inside our bodies, all sugars are ultimately converted into glucose. Fructose is another well-known sugar naturally found in all fruits, some vegetables, and honey. Bananas, apples, and strawberries are great examples of fructose. Fructose is well known for being the sweetest tasting sugar. Galactose is rarely talked about because it's not actually found in nature by itself. Galactose pairs with glucose to form lactose. So lactose is glucose plus galactose. Lactose is a natural sugar in dairy products, and lactose is also in human breast milk. So maltose is glucose plus glucose. Maltose is a byproduct of other natural sugars fermenting. So in the case of alcohol, I'll use this as an example, sugars from sucrose or fructose, from maybe the grapes that are used to make the wine, are fermented by yeast bacteria, and that's where the maltose is created. But sadly enough, by the end of the fermentation process, hardly any maltose remains in the finished product. Sucrose is glucose plus fructose. Sucrose is the same sugar we find in our kitchen. So whether it's white sugar, brown sugar, light brown sugar, raw sugar, confectioner sugar, granulated sugar, it's all sucrose. These table sugars are made by the process of refining, keep that word in mind, of sugarcane and sugar beets. However, other foods contain natural sucrose as well. Those include honey, maple syrup, some fruits, and vegetables as well. So unlike sugarcane derived refined table sugar, natural sugars such as honey and pure maple syrup have a mix of many sugars. So the table sugars, which are nearly 100% sucrose, honey is a mix of fructose on its own, glucose on its own, and sucrose. The difference between table sugar and natural sweeteners such as honey is the portions of glucose versus fructose versus sucrose, which alters the taste and texture profile and possibly altering your body's digestion rate. So that's kind of my sugar education. So I'm going to go into a couple other things, but I found that information interesting, which is why I shared it. So how does the body process carbs? And remember, sugar is a carb. So all carbs we consume are broken down and digested into simple sugars. I mentioned this earlier. And they're broken down into simple sugars before they're absorbed in the body. It doesn't matter if the source is a simple sugar cube or a high fiber, low glycemic index bowl of oatmeal. The difference is that smart carbs are digested and absorbed much slower, while the non-smart carbs are digested very quickly. Once broken down and absorbed, these monosaccharides or sugars go to the liver to fill energy stores. They then enter the bloodstream and venture out to the other cells of the body. This is when insulin is released to handle this sugar load on the body. So those sugars, those refined sugars, are processed and are digested quicker and getting sent out into your body faster. And that's when your body releases the insulin to deal with that sugar load. So if we're eating more simple sugars, if the diet is made of simple sugars and refined carbs, so processed, we start to see elevation in blood triglyceride levels, bad cholesterol, and insulin resistance, right? So that's what I was saying, that it's digesting so fast and going out into your body so quickly that those are rising. On the other hand, smart carbs that are digested and absorbed slowly, because remember, they have the fiber and other natural things in them, such as whole grains, fruits, and vegetables, can help to control those insulin level, or control the insulin response, our energy level, and our body comp, because they're not getting pushed out into the body so fast that our body can naturally adjust with the sugar that's getting in there. So such unrefined, unprocessed, complex carbs may reduce triglycerides and improve one's cholesterol profile. Other benefits of lower glycemic diet include increased vitamin and mineral intake, because remember, those whole foods have more vitamins and nutrients in there. Increased fiber intake. So I think I talked about fiber a few weeks ago and the benefits of that. So it has a lot of benefits to it, keeps you fuller longer, helps with the bathroom, all of those things. Enhanced satiety, so you stay satisfied longer. A higher thermic effect of feeding, and your blood sugar control, as I just talked about. So in closing, I'm just going to talk smart carbs. So those are low or moderate in calories. They're high in nutrients, devoid of refined sugars and refined grains. They're high in naturally occurring fiber, low in sodium, low in saturated fat, and very low in or devoid of cholesterol and trans fat. Refined carbs are high in calories, full of refined sugars like corn syrup, white sugar, and white sugar. They're high in refined grains like white flour. They're low in many nutrients, low in fiber, typically high in sodium, and sometimes high in saturated fat, cholesterol, and trans fat. And that is all I have. So I hope you learned something. The message here is smart carbs obviously have a lot of benefits. I'm not saying not to eat refined carbs. We all do. Just keep in mind the difference between smart and refined and how they affect your body and your insulin levels, your triglycerides. And so moderation is key, as always. So if there's any questions, I don't see any. So other than that, that is all I wanted to talk about today. So I hope everybody has a great Sunday. Thanks.